What's up, YouTube? It's Josh Creates here with another video. In today's video, we have TikTok vents about greedflation. Greedflation. Now, I do not know what that is. Basically, if you split the words apart, it's greedy and inflation. Together, you have greedflation. We'll see who's being greedy and what's causing the greed inflation. But before we get right into this, I do have another YouTube channel. It is older than this channel. It was my first channel, and that's where you'll see most of my vlogs, and it's called Josh's Journey. You could go subscribe there if you guys want. I will start to post on that channel once again. That's where you'll see my face, you'll see my everyday lifestyle, and yeah, guys, please support. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it.
One of the oldest investment banks in France is sounding the alarm at what might be the end of capitalism. One of the oldest and largest investment banks in the world warns that the greedflation that has been happening has gone too far. Anybody in the United States knows that prices have gone up and up and up, and companies are reporting record profits while the rest of us are absolutely suffering and struggling. There has been a major disconnect that has happened between the price of goods and the price that it costs to produce and ship these goods and the amount of profit that companies have been making. Just take a look at this graph. The red line shows the unit profit margins for major companies that continues to go up. The blue line are the non-labor costs, and the black line are labor costs, basically people's wages. There has been this massive disconnect that has happened where companies are seeing massive profit with no real change in the quality of goods or the wages that people are making. Y'all, we have been calling for this. We know this. But major investment banks are also saying, this has gone too far. This isn't inflation. This is pure corporate greed. I don't know if any corporations are going to take their calls seriously, but we know that the amount of debt that we all carry, the fact that 66% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, that includes high-wage earners and people making well over $100,000 a year. We are all drowning in debt while corporations see record profits with absolutely no change in the services and barely any change to our wages. We have to keep speaking up and saying this is enough. Something is coming. I don't know what the answer is going to be, but this cannot continue.
Sadly, I have to say this, but it will continue. I think The Simpsons predicted it. I don't want to rely on that, but so far, everything that they predicted, it came true. That we'll have like a civil war, this will happen, that will happen. I know you guys seen it on the social medias and wherever. You guys probably haven't, but like The Simpsons have like this show where they have like a civil war in the upcoming years, which is like around this time. But that episode aired like years back, almost 10 years back. I'll try to link it in the description down below, but anyways, let's continue.
Economists are saying they're having a hard time understanding the vibe session. The vibe session being that by the books, the economy is doing really good right now, but if you ask the average person on the street, they have a very negative opinion about the economy right now. If you ask an average person why that is, they will tell you about greedflation, how prices are increasing and profits are soaring for companies, and that is a bad thing. But an economist will say that greedflation doesn't really exist because those prices are made by corporations. Corporations have always been greedy, so that's nothing new. Nothing new is happening. That just makes me feel like I'm being gaslit, because I don't believe what we are seeing is anything new. It is a continuation of economic policies that have been put in place roughly 40 years ago now. Economists like to say that economics is the study of human behavior. And they'll use the example of the demand side of the economy, the people buying things, being emotional and measuring those. But they don't really talk about the supply side of all of that and the emotions and choices of the people who are in control of corporations. Corporations aren't these soulless robots making totally logical decisions. They are a collection of humans making choices to increase profits. A world in which we have multiple decades of wages stagnating and people's purchasing power going down lower and lower and lower, they're going to find new and dastardly ways of increasing their profits nonetheless. It's just the same old story of action and reaction, cause and effect. I pay attention to a couple of different economics podcasts, and I find myself very frustrated with them because they always stop the story just before they start asking themselves, why is it that way? Does it have to be that way? Is it right for it to be that way? They stop just before they get into the ethics and morals of what is going on in the economy, and that's never sat right with me. And I believe that's because as soon as you start talking about actual people's feelings when it comes to the economy, you naturally start going towards socialist policy. Stop relating to the corporations and start relating to the workers. Your whole algorithms for how you understand the economy has to change.
I agree.
Excuse me, what's going on? I just opened my Hulu and they're raising their prices to $17.99 a month? Are you kidding me? You just raised prices, Hulu. I need to get out of the grip of these subscriptions.
Of course, corporations didn't just wake up one day and decide to be greedy. They've always been greedy, but the point we can't overlook is how they've always preyed on people's lack of knowledge to maximize their greed. Because people are right in saying that monetary policy, the Fed printing trillions of dollars, did in fact contribute to inflation. People would also be right if they said a supply chain crisis contributed to inflation. But more than one thing can be true at the same time. I want to show you some data released by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. The past 3 years, from 2020 to 2022, saw a dramatic increase in the contribution of corporate profits as a percentage of unit price, while other costs such as non-labor costs and compensation of employees have gone down. What that essentially means is when we buy something, more of that money is going into corporate profits versus into the hands of the employee or to produce the actual good itself. Matt Stoller, an economic policy analyst, did a deep dive and calculated that corporate profits contributed to about 60% of inflation increases. He also added that the other 40% can be explained by government spending and the supply chain crisis. I mean, we have the smoking gun, CEOs praying for inflation because it's an excuse to jack up prices. So yes, greed is fundamental to the business model. But how much value they can extract from that greed? Well, that depends on whether or not we buy into the crap that the media is selling us, but maybe more important, whether or not we buy the crap that they're selling us that we maybe don't actually even really need.
Crazier thing than finding out that there's finally been a study proving that corporate America has been just price gouging the fuck out of us for the last few years is that people actually believed that that's not what was happening. There have been people this whole time sticking up for corporate America, being like, no, the cost of production has gone up so much and blah, blah, blah. Okay, no. These people are criminals. They have always been criminals. They will rob you fucking blind at every turn. And there's nothing stopping them. The wildest part of this whole thing is that even though there is literally now a study proving that companies were price gouging the fuck out of Americans, especially the gas companies, Mobil, Shell, Exxon, even though we literally have proof of this, nothing is going to happen. There's no consequences. All of these companies have been lying, and they have been saying that it's the cost of production and that, grain costs more, blah, 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 yada, yada. When in reality, they were artificially boosting their prices 30% because they don't give a fuck about the American public. They're just lining their pockets. Irony is that they have then dug their own graves because now deflation is 100% inevitable. They're probably going to end up having to lower their prices down below what they were way before the pandemic in order for their products to continue to come back off the shelves. People are so dead ass broke that we're now participating in across the board financial protests. We're not buying anything anymore. You wanted to fuck us over, so now it's your turn.
Wow. She was right about those gas prices. I cannot lie. Wow, because gas price is like one day it's down and the next day when you think it's going to stay like that, nope, goes right back up. And it goes right back up as soon as you plan to put gas in your car. Let me know in the comment section down below if you know what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, I could put 15 and get probably like a full tank. Nope. Nope.
Walmart is likely going to start disappearing in areas around you. If you didn't see the headline, they are going to start pay cuts for new employees coming in. And this is going to cause an absolute uproar, and this may be the beginning of the end for the Walmart empire. And if you want to see what greedflation looks like, let me show you some numbers. Everybody knows that the Walton family owns Walmart. On paper, they're estimated to be worth about $240 billion, and there are some estimates up to $1 trillion, yes, with a T. Meanwhile, the average salary for an employee ranges anywhere from $11.95 to $16. You get it, it's low. And here's the real kicker for all of this. You may be thinking, oh, maybe Walmart's just having a problem with inflation or getting goods in or the economy. We can look at Walmart financials and look at their total revenue, and we see that here back in 2021 they're making $152 billion, here in 2023 $161 billion. And they're not making money by selling more goods, they're doing it by cutting employees and cutting salaries. And you may think, oh, Walmart employees will stand up for themselves, but Walmart is one of the biggest employers that does not have a union. So none of those executives that work for Walmart are, we'll say smooth-brained. They know exactly what they're doing. And when you bring in new staff that are underpaid, you're going to get employees that simply do not care. Not that the bar was set extremely high in the first place. So at an estimated $1 trillion, do you think this is the Walton family making the decision to finally let the Walmart empire finally collapse? Keep your eye out on local Walmarts because...
Because what? He didn't finish, but anyways, his TikTok is right there in Verse News. You could go look for that video and see what he means. Well, see what he was about to say. Because he didn't finish what he was about to say. So let's continue.
What you need to know, corporate America's profit surge, the greedflation gutting your wallet in 2024. Have you been seeing these lately too? These ridiculous price increases from just about every company? I just got another one this morning from Ring Doorbell. In recent weeks, the stain of price hikes has been impossible to ignore. From Netflix and Hulu to Apple TV Plus, and even the Delta SkyMiles card, which already charges hundreds of dollars annually for their fee, is upping it another $100. The cost of living is climbing. Retail CEO forecasts are even more dire, with 70% of retail CEOs poised to raise prices in 2024. This phenomenon is being dubbed greedflation, and it's happening despite corporate America's best profits soaring past traditional levels. Now, while you might hope for a substantial salary bump to keep up with this inflation, well, think again. Predictions suggest the average American's pay is only going to inch up by 4%, and that's if you're lucky in 2024, according to a WTW survey reported on Forbes. Now, pay attention because all of these increases are a lot higher than 4%. So let's put this into perspective. Did you know that the CEO of Walmart, C. Douglas McMillan, earns a salary that is approximately 933 times higher than the salary of the average Walmart worker? And despite his $25.7 million compensation package, Walmart and McDonald's are among top employers of Medicaid and food stamp beneficiaries, according to the Government Accountability Office. Come on, how sad is this? Record profits, huge executive salaries. Or look at GM CEO. GM CEO made $29 million in 2022, which according to ABC News is 362 times the salary of the average worker in the company. Her salary has increased 34% in 2019, according to the AP. Remember, the average American is only 4%. But here's the kicker. A massive study involving 1,300 corporations has unveiled a startling deception. These companies have been feeding us tales of inflation just to justify their price increases, all while lining their pockets with record profits. U.S. Senator Bob Casey has highlighted this, noting that even as actual inflation decelerates, greedflation keeps consumer costs high. During the second and third quarters of 2023, an astonishing 53%, over half of inflation, was driven by corporate profits. Netflix, for instance, not only plans to hike prices, but also to lavish its co-chief operating officers with $40 million compensation packages each in 2024. Each. Price surges aren't stopping there. Amazon Prime Video is tacking on an extra $3 monthly. Spotify joins the fray. Get this, with CEO Daniel Ek's net worth ballooning to $2.4 billion. Big Pharma is hiking prices on over 500 medications this year, and even McDonald's has stumbled in its cash grab, facing backlash for pricing a single one hash brown, at $3. Telecommunications are no exception either, with 5G services likely to see a cost increase. AT&T CEO John Stankey, with a salary of $24.8 million per year, hinted at price hikes. Meanwhile, PepsiCo upped its average prices for its snacks and beverages by 16%.
I'm sorry, I have to pause, but gosh, this guy is exposing all types of like categories of businesses, dog. Like from McDonald's, Walmart, AT&T, anybody, gas stations, everybody, bro. And shout out to him, like he's actually doing. He did his research. He did his research, and dog, it seems reasonable. But anyways, and he also looks like Keanu Reeves. I don't know if you guys like agree with me, but it's up to you. Let me hear your thoughts. But let's continue.
In early 2023. And shipping giants UPS and FedEx are implementing a 5.9% price increase, with their CEOs earning millions in
Wow, even
compensation.
delivery
However, consumers
services.
are not powerless. By canceling subscriptions and memberships and refusing to purchase overpriced items, we can push back. We're being exploited. Take a stand against paying absurd amounts for everyday items, like a small bag of Tostitos scoops at $5.49. Come on, the power of the purse is real, and it's time to wield it.
I 100% agree when he said the Tostitos scoops. The dipping sauce itself is absurd. Like, who's paying $6 for dipping sauce, dog? And then another $6 on the chips. That's 12. That's 12 already, man. That's $12 already. But let's continue.
Businesses aim to maximize profits. That's capitalism. But as consumers, we dictate the true value of products. If a price seems unjust, don't pay it. It's up to us to send a clear message to corporations. Our wallets won't be their cash cows. And this brings a huge ethical debate we need to address in this country. How can companies say employees are being paid fair when we see what their compensation is at the top? How is that fair? It's a lot more than 4%. The tension between maximizing profits for shareholders and ensuring equitable compensation for employees. The fundamental question we must confront is whether it's justifiable for corporations to pursue maximum financial gains if it means undermining the principles of fair wages for their workforce. When we scrutinize the discrepancy between corporate earnings and employee pay, the fairness of such a divide is called into question. What metrics of fairness can companies possibly invoke when their own compensation structures tell a very different story? Thanks for watching and follow me for more.
Dr. Jason. Dr. _Jason is his TikTok, everyone. If you want to hear more from him, watch his videos on TikTok because he just exposed everything about greedflation. I saved the best for last, basically, and I didn't even know I didn't even watch it. I couldn't even say anything that much because I was just so in tune to him, into him like exposing everything about these big corporations using the employees, and then they're making big profits and not even contributing to the employees to fight against inflation. So that's why it's called greedflation. Okay, there we go. Now there we go. He got me thinking, man. Wow, if it wasn't for him, I probably would have never known what greedflation was. But hey, now I know. But anyways, guys, that is it for this video. Let me hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on greedflation? Have you experienced it? Is your job where you are working at is doing greedflation behind everyone's back? Well, it's not really behind their back, but are they doing it? Anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. My name is Josh Creates. Needless to say, everything will be okay. I'm out.